Okay, let's talk briefly first about the financial narrative that's due tomorrow. Get it in the Dropbox, if you would. The way I would do the narrative, and again, with a lot of these things, I'd leave it up to you, but the way I would do it, I'll give you that, would be to do it just in the order of the documents as we did them, right? Tell me about your startup, okay? Tell me a little bit then about the opening day, but that doesn't vary too much, right? So there's not much you really need to tell me about that. So what are you going to tell me about the startup? Well, mainly what your major expenditures are, okay? And then where you're going to get your money from, right? Making a personal investment, Uncle Al's giving me a loan, whatever the case may be, okay? Or Uncle Al's going to invest with me, okay? Opening day balance sheet doesn't vary a lot, so there's not much to tell me about that. Short paragraph, right? Maybe a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, okay? Then you get into the income statement / cash flow, and again, those two are very similar. And so what are you going to tell me there? Mainly, again, what are my operating expenses, and how did I arrive at those numbers? How did I get that my rent's going to be $500 a month? Well, I talked to the gal up at the mall or whatever the case may be, right? Called the realtor, and that's what the realtor said, okay? So you kind of give me the numbers a little bit, but more you give me the background of how you got to those numbers. Okay, how'd you come to your sales figure? All right, how did you arrive at that sales figure? What else would be on the income statement? Cash flow. You can tell me a little bit about your depreciation, but there's not a lot there that you need to tell me. Then your pro forma balance sheet. Again, not that much that you really need to tell me. Okay, on the pro forma balance sheet, because that really doesn't vary that much, and those numbers came from other documents, right? And then lastly, then you do the more forward-looking statements, the forward-looking income statement and the forward-looking balance sheets. And you tell me, again, there, I want to hear more about what assumptions you used to come up with those numbers. Don't just recite the numbers to me. Tell me the assumptions that you use. I assume that I'm going to have a 10% growth rate in sales. I assume my insurance is going to go up by 3%, at the rate of inflation. I assume my supplies are going to go up 3% by the rate of inflation. That type of information would be more powerful. Okay? So you should have a little, just like with a lot of these sections, maybe a little intro and a little conclusion then too, right? The financial narrative need not be real long. And I think somebody might have been one of the folks distance students asked, does it have to be 2 pages? No, there's no set limit for the financials. Yours might be 1.5 pages, yours might be 5 pages. It just kind of depends on the detail and that type of information that you might have. So the length here isn't that important. The only document or the only narrative that's going to be in this that's important in terms of length is going to be the executive summary when we get to that. Okay, that's one that studies show about 2 pages is about right. Okay, so that'll be it. Okay, any other questions then about the financial narrative or about the financials?
It's single spaced, correct?
Single spaced. I would probably prefer throughout the whole thing, and you want to make sure you match this up throughout the whole thing. Luckily with computers you can go back and change it any time, but I'd probably prefer at least 1.15 or something like that. My old eyes, I need a little bit of space in between. Besides that, if I'm correcting some stuff, it gives me a little more room, if I get a little room.
Are you going to be printing it out?
Will I be printing it out? You guys will be printing it out because you'll be presenting it to me in a form, right?
Oh, at the very end.
At the very end. Yeah. And in the short term, in the near term, I won't be printing it out. No, I'll just correct and show corrections on my little tablet thing. But it's still nicer if I get a little room. 1.5 even, 1.5, 1.15 would be fine. At least 12, yeah. And the font's got to be at least 12. Okay.
I can make it big one, like 22.
No. You want it to look. Again, it's kind of professional. I think 12 gets there. I think you even push 14, it starts to look like it's a little bit out of sorts with what we would call normal. So keep it at 12 probably is good. A font family, that doesn't matter. I mean, there's some that are obviously clearer and probably more professional. What's Arial? It's probably okay. Calibri? Is that right? Calibri, yeah, I think that one's not a bad font. You know, Times New Roman's always fine. Okay, so any of those, just make it one that's kind of professional and okay looking. Don't use the cartoon sans something or another, right? That doesn't work too well. Don't use italics. You know, save that for maybe some special things in your deal. That's fine, but you don't want overall being italics. So, okay. Other questions then about the financial narrative? Let's get started talking a little bit about marketing. And I only want to spend a little time today because I'm going to give you guys time to finish up the financials. And marketing, you know, we're going to spend, I don't know, the next several weeks anyhow, probably marketing. And there's 5, 6, 7 things that I kind of want to go over. And if I spend 5 or 10 minutes each class or 15 minutes each class, I can go over little bits of those and whatnot. The main things I think are this. First, I provided here, you know, under the Excel and Word templates, this marketing plan outline. And I think it's decent. It came from a deal called this Quick MBA, and we'll go look at that here in a bit. But under that Quick MBA, there's some really cool stuff here. That's the other thing we'll look at today. Somebody was nice and I think typed this up for me. Let me get this a little bigger. There we go. That's a little too big. Okay, this executive summary is basically the summary or the introduction, you could call it an introduction, that'd be fine too, of just your marketing portion of your business plan, right? Okay, so don't confuse this with the executive summary that you'll do for the entire paper, okay? And then it just gives us a nice outline, right? We talk about the challenge that you're going to face, okay? Your situation analysis, right? What's the goals, focus? And if some of these are a little confusing now, that's fine. Some of the other places I'm going to point you to are going to give you some information that will help fill in some of these blanks. Okay, or you can certainly ask questions, and I'll try to fill those in. I'll tell you, I have never taught the marketing. I know you guys have all had marketing and advanced marketing, so you've had a pretty good exposure to it. Marketing is not necessarily my forte, but having read a few of these, I hope I can give some pretty good insight into it. So, your customer analysis, right? Who's it going to be? Who's your market segmentation and things like that? How about your competitors? Are you going to have to go through and do a good, thorough competitive analysis? Well, yeah. Yep. Collaborators, you know, suppliers, those types of things. Lenders, joint ventures, if you have any. You know, if you got to combine forces with somebody to do some things. Okay, you know, John, you might have to put the tribe in there, right? Because you're obviously gonna be dependent on them for your supply. So, climate. This is not, you know, we're not talking about climate change or any of those things. Okay, don't get Al Gore on me here. This is just about the climate, the business climate, basically, that we might be dealing with, right? That would have to do with more with the political and legal environments. So. You might have an issue there. You know, what's the political environment at the tribe that might keep that open for you? It could close it up for you too in terms of your access, right? There's some things like that. We all might have some things like that, right? Interest rates for Garrett might be a big deal. Interest rates are really low right now, and that's a good thing. It's great because he can borrow money at a low price, but it's also great because people that are going to buy his houses that he redoes are going to have access to money, right? So it's a huge deal. Okay, and so those are some things that would be economic, probably more than political and legal. But those are things that you want to be thinking about in terms of your project. Everybody's going to have these types of things, and so be thinking about those, right? Social and cultural environment. You know, are there things changing in our society that might affect your business, positively or negatively? Okay, think through those. The SWOT analysis is one you can sure use. We've all been taught the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm going to give you or show you where you could take a look at an alternative that I like. Again, it was a Michael Porter alternative thing, an alternative to the SWOT analysis. I've had some students do both. I think it gets a little too overdone when you do both of them. Okay, market segmentation, right? You need to tell me who your market segment's going to be. You know, demographic, psychographic, those types of things we're going to take a look at. Alternate marketing strategies. What types of things didn't you do? What types of things did you choose not to do, right, that you took a look at and you dismissed? Okay, we need to kind of talk a little bit about that. One thing I want to remind you about marketing is that this is not advertising. right? Advertising is a very small part of marketing, right? Marketing's the whole thing, okay? Marketing is the whole supply chain, basically. It's how you're, pricing. It's all those other things versus just the advertising. So, and then ultimately, what's your selected marketing strategy? Okay. Remember, I often think of strategy as two things: either you're a differentiator or you're a low cost. Okay. Can you refine it and define it more than that? Absolutely. And I'm sure you will in terms of your particular business. Okay. Most of you, probably small businesses, would typically be differentiators versus low-cost providers, typically. Product, what's your product? Does it have a brand name, quality scope, all these things? It gives you, it's a nice outline because it really gives you this. If I were you, I would take this and just kind of start with it and then start filling in and expanding on the outline would be a nice way to build your marketing portion, okay? Be a really nice way. Distribution, right? So these are your 4 Ps. And we'll talk more about the 4 Ps as we go along here. Long and short-term projections, right? You need to do those types of things. And this is probably going to relate to some of the financials that you've already done, right? You'll just kind of talk about those in regards to your marketing. Then you have a conclusion, right? Okay. You might have some things in an appendix, might or might not, just depends on your business, right? Calculations of market size, commissions, profit margins, maybe. And we've already done some of these anyhow. Okay. So, any questions about that outline? Okay. Again, do you have to use that particular outline? No. You guys, I'm sure you all did a marketing plan in your advanced marketing. If there's an outline you used for that, you prefer that. If it's, noticeably different than this, and you want to use that, I don't have any problems with that. Okay, none whatsoever. So feel free to use a format that you want. But when you look at this outline, you kind of have a pretty good idea what my expectations are going to be in terms of, what the minimum, I guess, at least, that I think you ought to cover when we're taking a look at the marketing plan. So, okay, one more thing. This quick MBA, it's a great little deal. Okay, it takes you here, and there maybe 15 little things here. These are all very readable, meaning they're not that long. Okay, but they'll give you some great insight. This is where that marketing plan outline came from. It doesn't let you copy and paste. Like I said, somebody I think typed that up for me maybe, or else they figured out how to do it. Okay, but here when you're looking at market segmentation, page and a half of reading. It's not real lengthy, and it gives you some really good background. So as you're going through that marketing outline, you very well might want to come when you're working on one segment, just come and click on this and read that page and a half, couple pages. Some of them are a little longer. Okay, some of them are a little longer. This one's about normal, I would say. So come and take a look at those because I think that it will help you out extensively in terms of filling in some of those blanks. So, okay. You'll find too there's some other tabs. This is the alternative to the SWOT analysis that I was talking about. This quick MBA Porter's 5 Forces. It may be goofy, but one of the reasons I kind of like Porter's 5 Forces maybe sometimes as an alternative to the SWOT analysis is just because it's a little different. It might differentiate your plan a little bit because everybody does the SWOT analysis. It seems like that's typically what you get. And if you did a Porter's 5 Forces, you'd be differentiating yourself a little bit, I think. So, again, it shows you what a Porter's 5 Forces. He actually sets up a little diagram thing, and then it talks about each of these and what you would do. And I won't go into a lot of detail if you use that. If you want to use Porter's 5 Forces in replacement of the SWOT analysis, feel free, and if you got some questions about it, it really gives you a nice, list of things to go through, right? He talks about supplier power, so the people that are supplying you, how much power do they have? And it gives you 8 or so things to talk about in terms of the supplier power. Threat of new entrants, that's a big deal, right? Threat of substitutes. So what's a substitute mean? What's going on in the world of cable, direct dish and charter? What's going on in that world? For you guys, for your age. How many of you guys have cable TV? One. Okay. So what's going on in that world? What are you guys doing? You're doing Netflix and you're doing the internet and you're streaming videos and you're doing things like that. You guys aren't watching TV that much anymore, right? Or Hulu maybe, or whatever some of those other services are, right, that you can get where you can, you know. And so that's become a substitute, hasn't it, for regular cable TV? Yeah. If I were in cable TV business, I'd be a little bit concerned. I might be concerned that I'm going to go the way of Blockbuster, which used to be a what? You guys even remember Blockbuster? It hasn't been that long. Yeah, video rental store, right? And it's gone upside down. Dish actually bought it and kind of tried to use it in some of their stuff, but you know, Netflix put it out of business basically. Okay.
Yeah, they have like Blockbuster at home, which is kind of like Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. Dish has Blockbuster that you can get video on demand types of thing, I think. So I think you can do it on your computer or on your TV if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah, so there's some really interesting, you know, I think when you think about your products or services, you got to get outside the box a little bit here when you do that. You know, you guys are looking at the fitness place, right? What's a substitute for going to a fitness facility?
They now have like stuff where you can just live feed it off the internet.
You can live feed it off the internet for exercise things, or
Just get a DVD and work it out.
yeah, or a treadmill or an elliptical or whatever, and you do it at home. Yeah, I got a treadmill and a weight set in my basement, right? Okay, so instead of spending $30 or $40 a month, okay, there's a really legitimate substitute for that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have to get out in the cold and drive to the fitness place. Okay, any questions about that? Enough to kind of get you started. That's it for today. I don't want to talk forever. 17 minutes is good enough. So, did everybody team win the Super Bowl?
No, my team didn't even go to the playoffs.
Wow. My team made it to the playoffs, but that's about all I can say. So,
You a Broncos fan?
yeah, I have been. Yeah, I know it. Okay.